We ran the household numbers one afternoon and they crossed $1 million for the first time. We expected to feel something, wealthy, different, lighter somehow. We felt pretty much the same. The mortgage was still there, the super was still locked away, the everyday account still needed watching, and the grocery bill had not read the memo. So we started asking a better question. Not did we hit the number, but what does $1 million in net worth actually buy? Well, first, the definition. Net worth is assets minus liabilities, everything you own minus everything you owe. That sounds clean. But the details matter enormously because most net worth is not sitting in a bank account. If you own a $1,200,000 home with a $400,000 mortgage, you have $800,000 in home equity. Add $150,000 in super, $40,000 in ETFs, and $10,000 in cash, and you are technically a millionaire. But only $50,000 of that is liquid outside super and the home. You cannot spend your walls. A household can cross seven figures and still budget every fortnight, worry about a broken hot water system, and feel financially squeezed. The wealth is real. It is locked in bricks and the super fund, and that gap changes everything about what the milestone actually means. The second issue is inflation. A number does not mean the same thing forever. The ABS reported annual inflation of 4% in the 12 months to May 2026, with housing costs up 6.5%. That is after several years of elevated inflation earlier in the decade. Put those numbers together and $1 million in 2026 has roughly the purchasing power of somewhere between $770,000 and $825,000 in 2020 terms. The direction matters more than the exact number. A million still sounds significant, but it buys materially less than it did just a few years ago. The milestone carries emotional weight from an earlier price environment. Here is the housing baseline. The ABS reported the mean price of Australian residential dwellings at $1,111,100 in the March quarter of 2026. In large parts of Australia, $1 million is not mansion money, it is ordinary house money. That is a significant shift in what the milestone represents. The number carries emotional weight from an earlier price environment. Now imagine the million is not in a home. It is in a diversified portfolio, super, index funds, ETFs, or a mix of all of them. A common planning shortcut is the 4% rule, withdrawing 4% of the portfolio in year one, then adjusting for inflation. More conservative planners use 3.5% for extra safety margin. A $1 million portfolio might support $35,000 to $40,000 per year before tax. That is meaningful, but it is not unlimited. It can cover a lean lifestyle for one person with housing already secure, or a large share of costs for a couple. It might allow part-time work, a career change, or a break from employment. But for most families paying rent or a mortgage, $35,000 to $40,000 is not private beach retirement income, it is flexibility income. And flexibility is worth a lot more than most people give it credit for. The phrase $1 million net worth can hide very different realities. The mix matters as much as the total. Version 1, the house-rich household. $900,000 in home equity, $80,000 in super, $20,000 in accessible savings. Technically a millionaire, but only $20,000 is liquid outside super. The next move for this household is usually not more property. It is building ETFs, an emergency buffer, and super contributions so the wealth can be accessed when it is actually needed. Version 2, the portfolio household. Lower home equity or renting but large investable assets. $400,000 in super and $300,000 to $600,000 in ETFs and shares. More flexibility. But the trade-off is housing exposure. If rent rises faster than the portfolio, this household can still feel financially precarious despite the seven-figure balance. Version 3, the balanced position, is often the strongest in practice. $500,000 in home equity, $300,000 in super, $200,000 in ETFs and accessible cash. Partial housing security, retirement momentum, liquid options for the unexpected. This household may not feel rich day to day. But the structure is resilient. It can absorb shocks, make decisions, and compound from a stable base. Here is a question worth sitting with. If your net worth crossed $1 million tomorrow, what would you actually do differently? Most households with a solid plan answer, not much, and that is exactly the right signal. The million is not the destination. It is a structure check. So what does a $1 million net worth actually buy? Not luxury, not automatically, but 5 things that are quieter and more valuable. The first is a lower panic level. When net worth is near zero, every emergency is a threat: a broken car, a rent increase, a missed paycheck. At a million, especially with some liquidity, emergencies become problems to solve rather than disasters to survive. That shift in your relationship with uncertainty is a real form of wealth. The second is better career decisions. Savings and investments change the power dynamic at work. You can negotiate, leave a toxic environment, or take a longer-term role without desperation driving the choice. A million might not let you quit forever, but it can reduce the fear that keeps you somewhere you should have left. That is worth a great deal. The third is housing control. $1 million net worth can mean owning outright in some areas, holding strong equity in others, or having the deposit and buffer to buy without fragility. The fourth is partial financial independence. One partner reduces hours, a career break becomes real, a redundancy becomes a pause, not a panic. The million does not need to replace income completely to change how income feels. If that portfolio income covers even half your household costs, the pressure on every other decision drops significantly. The fifth is time. Money is stored effort. $1 million net worth means past work is now sitting in assets that compound alongside you. Not enough to make life effortless, enough to make it less brittle. There is a common trap. A household crosses the $1 million mark and immediately upgrades: bigger house, newer car, private school fees, more subscriptions. And just like that, the psychological benefit disappears into new fixed costs. A healthier approach is to track milestones by what they actually do. $10,000 liquid stops emergencies becoming credit card debt. $100,000 invested makes compounding visible. $500,000 is a serious base. $1 million gives resilience. And the next milestone most households should calculate is the FI number, annual household expenses multiplied by 25. If you spend $60,000 a year, the rough target is $1,500,000 invested. $90,000 a year means $2,250,000. Your lifestyle determines how far every net worth milestone actually stretches. If you are approaching or just past $1 million, here is how to use it properly. Track your liquid net worth separately. Liquidity is what handles shocks. Home equity and super are real wealth, but they are not the same as accessible assets. Build beyond the house. ETFs offset savings, and super contributions turn paper wealth into resilience you can actually use. And keep fixed costs from expanding. That is how each milestone retains its power. A $1 million net worth in 2026 is not the fantasy version of wealth many people grew up imagining, but it is a serious foundation. Fewer parts of your life are fragile. More decisions are yours to make. If this helped map your thinking, subscribe. We put out one of these guides every week.